Hey, look, it's got ears. Hey guys, sometimes when you browse things on the internet, you can't really grasp the scale of the item you're looking at. So when I firstly looked at the picture of the IMOU Bullet 2E, I thought to myself, hey, this is tiny and cute. But then the parcel has arrived and the box was massive. And just look at that thing. It's huge. I mean, I know it's called Bullet, but all that weatherproofing, it makes it not just bulletproof, but, well, a pretty decent weapon. But jokes aside, as I said, this is IMOU Camera 2E, which has been supplied to me by IMOU. And this is not the first camera that IMOU sent me either. Previously, I had a look at the Ranger and they've asked me for a setup guide, which you can see two of me actually setting up this camera here. So if you want to laugh a bit, click through on that video. But today we're going to focus on this one. This is an outdoor camera. It is IP67 rated, which means it can take pretty much everything that UK can throw at it in terms of weather. Now, granted, we don't have tornadoes in UK, but we do have a frosty nights and more than enough rain, trust me on that. So in line with intended use, IMOU camera has a wall mount and ability to actually being powered by 12 volts DC or power over Ethernet, which is really nice. As you can imagine, these aren't ears, those are actually Wi-Fi antennas, and you have a support for 2.4 GHz network. Fortunately, 5 GHz band isn't supported, but what is supported is the ability to run this camera as an access point, which is great if you're planning on using CCTV in remote areas where you can't really afford to have your own broadband. Inside you'll find 1080p sensor capable of infrared vision, color night vision, which I'm gonna talk about in a moment, and there are two LED lights to support night visions. This thing looks really sturdy and has a bit of weight to it, so you better make sure you're gonna mount it properly. But one thing that really got me confused is this button in here. This is a reset button. Hey, and if you design security equipment, a reset button shouldn't really be accessible. Come on guys, you can do a bit better. Thankfully, you can remove that rubber nipple and with a little bit of DIY seal the hole that is created by this reset button, and that way it's going to be much harder to reset your camera. Inside this hole you'll also find SD card slot to store your footage locally. And speaking of storing your footage locally, you have three options. First, you can stream it to your app. Secondly, you can store it in a cloud provided by IMOU, and you're gonna have a 30-day period trial, but after I expect to fish out some cash. Now, lastly, you can actually do NVR. However, this is really poorly supported in terms of documentations, but don't worry, I'll show you how to do it. But before you pull the trigger on the link in the description to buy one, you probably want to know what the video is like. So let's take a look. With security cameras, it's always a balance between having small files and providing you with enough resolutions to capture all the details you want. Now, the camera in the daylight performs alright, there is enough details for recognizing people from about 7 to 10 meters away, but if you need a little bit more resolution, so zooming in, which this camera also supports, then you might find yourself slightly disappointed. But the biggest shortcoming of the sensor itself is the lack of dynamic range, which means if you're gonna point a camera at partially shaded areas in a full sunshine, you may find yourself with partially overexposed image. But the redeeming features of the Bullet 2E comes with a night performance. You have two modes to pick from. One, there is a very familiar infrared mode in which you're gonna illuminate pretty much everything around it, however you're gonna lose the color details. The second mode is much more interesting. It uses two LEDs mounted on this camera to illuminate the area around you and provide you with a color picture at night. It's actually quite sensitive and I really like what you can see at night. And even with the world behind the window looking very dark, the image from the camera was looking more like at the sunset, which is really impressive. There is also a microphone which you can use to capture sound from outside. In my case, there wasn't really much to capture apart from chirping of the birds, so I've used this clip to demonstrate how good is the microphone. And while I probably wouldn't use this camera to start my own YouTube channel, I think it gives you a pretty decent idea of what's the quality of the microphone is like and why you could use it yourself. As you can see, I'm using a totally different camera to run this YouTube channel, but if you stick it on a wall, you actually can get a pretty decent sound out of it. If you pick local storage, a 32GB card will last you about 2 days of constant recording. Those clips are saved in 5-minute per video clips on the SD card. However, the file extension is proprietary and I didn't really find anything on my computer that would be able to play this clip. It means you'll have to use the timeline in your app to access particular clips, record it and then send it to your destination. It's a bit of a long way of doing things, but well, I guess it's that. Now, since we're speaking about the app, let's talk about the app in detail. First, the smartphone integration. IMOU comes with relevant skills for Google Home and Amazon speakers. I have an Amazon Show and it was showing actual clips from outside with about 10 seconds delay. Now, it's not that bad for this particular camera because you're not going to have a live conversation with whoever is on the other side, but you have to remember that whatever you're going to see on your speaker with the display, then, well, it's delayed 10 seconds. The app itself is pretty straightforward. You can either access individual cameras or have a couple of up to 4 of them displayed on a single screen as well. Now you have a timeline if you are using cloud storage or local storage to scroll through, in which you're going to have selected or highlighted motion events. Speaking of motion events, there's a one feature that I really like. You'll be able to select on a grid the squares that you're interested in monitoring in terms of motion. So if you have trees outside, finally they won't trigger your motion detection and you won't get those really annoying notifications like on the other cameras. Thank God for that. Thanks to this touchscreen operation, you can easily pan around the frame and zoom in with a pinch. That's very convenient. Now, the app itself has a basic options to start recording or take a snapshot, and recent events are shown as small cards of whatever happened for easy access. Now, accessing the files takes a bit and you have to scroll through different events if you're interested in browsing your actual recordings during the day. So that can be a little bit tedious, but if you choose to pick only recording motion events, that task gets a little bit easier. Now, in terms of recording, you have an option either to record constantly or respond to motion events. One feature that really bothers me is the spotlight button. Now, spotlight is responsible for turning the LEDs on the camera. Once you press the spotlight button in the app, the LEDs on the camera will start flashing in attempt to scare away whoever is looking at the camera right now. Now, that's probably good, but let's face it, most of the time you're going to be pressing this to illuminate the path ahead of the time so you wouldn't kill yourself on your driveway. But don't worry, that spotlight's going to last around a minute and then automatically it will turn itself off. So even if you forget to toggle it back off, you're not going to leave the camera flashing at everyone's around. Now, the spotlight itself obviously will work automatically in a night mode. So if you have a color mode selected, it will illuminate the path without blinking. That's nice. Just bear in mind that obviously it's going to make the camera more visible at night. So if you were planning on more concealed camera position, you probably want to opt out for infrared instead. Now let's address the elephant in the room. And I don't mean me, I mean this camera and NVR support. RTSP or ONVIF is supported. This feature is actually listed probably twice on their website and not mentioned anywhere else, which is really annoying because a lot of you are going to be looking for setting this up with your NVR. And I can't blame you because probably I would do the same to save yourself a cloud cost. And I get that IMOU wants to tease you into buying a cloud storage, but come on, you cannot advertise the feature and not take advantage of it, right? So come on IMOU, make proper documentations for how to use RTSP because a lot of your customers are going to be looking for that. Streaming to your NVR device works over the Ethernet cable and Wi-Fi as well, so you get to pick your interface. To stream, you're going to have 2 ports that are supported. First, there is a 554, which is more common port, and then there is a 37777. Now, it took me a while to actually figure out what is the correct URL path in order to get that connected. Inside the app, you're going to find authentication code, which is listed just below the barcode, which is going to be your access password. The default username is admin. And then you can use this URL to connect it to, let's say, VLC just to test it out. As you probably don't want to type all this from the screen, then in the article attached to this video review, you'll find all the setup instructions about RTSP. So if you're interested, click through and I'll take you to my website with instructions about setting it up. There are lots of different IP cameras that I've reviewed in the past. You can see them in this video, but this is the first camera that is actually rated for outdoor use. So if you want to extend your monitoring to, well, outdoor monitoring, then if you're interested in IMOU Bullet 2E, I think that's the correct name, right? Then there's a link in the description where you can purchase one for yourself. The price of this camera is about £55 right now on Amazon, which isn't that bad of a deal. So big thanks to IMOU for sending me the camera so I could take a closer look, and if you're interested, you know what to do. And as for now, you probably know that I do not have a posting schedule. If you're interested in things that I'll be doing in the future, you know how YouTube works. I'm not going to explain that to you, but your likes are appreciated. Anyway, what I'm going to tell you is that if you follow me on any given social media of your choice, you will have the ability to get notifications, engage in a conversation with me about my future projects, and generally be a better person. So, thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Take care. Bye. However, the file extension is can't pronounce this.